Hello and welcome to my second video on the cohesion in a written summary. The summary was written by students about Tom and Jerry, an article introducing the famous cat and mouse cartoon. The first part looked at a summary that had quite a few problems actually, although cohesion was the main thing I was looking at. The summary in this part 2 has fewer problems. It's generally quite good, fairly well written, but there are still some cohesion issues, so it's a useful one to look at. Okay, cohesion is quite a tricky thing to analyse in academic writing, so I'll scroll down and I'll just talk through this. There it is, that's the summary. It's one paragraph, one quite sizable paragraph. So you can see that I've marked it up a little bit, so I'm just going to talk through these parts so you can see why. So first of all, when we were children, we all saw cats and mice, even now. And now it seems that Tom and Jerry will make some new movies. Notice here, Jerry, as a name, should have a capital J. To be honest, I'm not sure that this is particularly necessary. I would consider maybe rewriting that just to make it a very simple introduction. The article introduces Tom and Jerry or something like that is enough, but I'm going to leave that for now because it's not what I want to focus on. The animation of Tom Cat and Jerry Mouse began to be produced in 1840. I think that might be an error, that's why I highlighted that, 1840. I think that might be 100 years earlier than the real date. So, make sure if you're giving a date that you give the correct one. You can lose a lot of marks for that. Again, that's not really what I'm focusing on though in this video. Tom is a cat and Jerry is a mouse, but its original design is not very delicate. Now, what is that referring to? Here is a cohesion problem. Tom and Jerry would be they. Their original design is not very delicate. Perhaps that's what the writer means. But later modification improved his outline. Who's he? Tom and Jerry are both he, so this isn't very helpful at all. So its and his. Probably it should be, let's correct this one, 1940. But their original design, or perhaps it refers to the cartoon's original design. Let's go with their because they've been introduced. So their original design is not very delicate, but later modification improved their outline. And the music and characters are more seamless. There we go. That flows much better. So you can see it's very important to get the right pronoun to refer to what's already, what it is that you're referring to in the text. Okay, that makes it a lot clearer and easier to read. Okay, let's come down to here now. We all fell in love with the naughty competition between the cat and the mouse in the cartoon. Okay, we can assume that we here includes the reader and most people. Actually, I would steer clear of using these words, we and all together like that, because it assumes all people, but there may well be people in the world who haven't seen Tom and Jerry or haven't fallen in love with it. Okay, so this isn't very good, well, it actually is poor academic style. Okay, but for the cohesion it's okay because we all understand we means all of us. Okay, but for academic writing it's not ideal by any means, and recommended you don't do that. Okay, now this next bit, I've underlined it. Although the work has a sinister background, the real star is the unique music score of the play. Now here, how does this actually relate to the second part of the sentence? Although the work has a sinister background. There's nothing before this to suggest that the work does have a sinister background. So this comes out of the blue. Okay, it's just suddenly appeared. Ooh. Although the work has a sinister background. Oh, did it have a sinister background? So this is slightly confusing for the reader, but also the relationship between the sinister background and the star being the unique music score is not clear. Okay, so on first reading, I thought, well, probably just delete this bit. However, I've chosen not to delete it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Although this arrow is a bit of a hint. The real star's unique music score of the play. This short cartoon has no dialogue with the protagonist, so this is the key to the success of the storytelling. Here, we understand this to mean the unique music score of the play. Okay, so that's okay. Cohesion's fine there. With the development of the times, this is a little bit odd because times don't particularly develop. I think this should be the progress of the times, maybe, or changing. Change it to changing. Generally, it's something to be careful of for Chinese students writing in English. Time references, they're quite important that you get them right in English. Mostly it wouldn't confuse the reader particularly, but it's just sort of slightly irritating, and anyway, inaccurate. The animation becomes more fluent and the characters are more refined. Now, you'll notice here I've got this arrow going up there, back to where this student wrote about later modification improved their outlines. So these ideas seem to go together. Right? The changing times, animation becomes more fluent, the characters are more refined. So that seems to go together, right? The characters are more refined, the later modification improved their outlines. So I would consider moving this bit and this bit so that they're together. Right? You could move this whole sentence because it doesn't particularly follow on from the sentence about the music anyway. It's a different point. Okay? So that and that really ought to go together. Okay? And also, it says, although the action is a little violent. Now notice this, the action is a little violent. Maybe it's the little violence that is sinister. Could that be right? If it is, then maybe these two sentences could be moved together. Or rather, these two although clauses. You could move those so that they are actually together. The paragraph might work a little bit better. Okay. During World War II, Cat and Mouse displayed a military theme. Okay, so you've got the violence, the military theme. So this tells me, because the cohesion's good here, you've got violence and military theme right next to each other, then it's this. Although it's sinister background. If you're going to keep it, this would be better down here with this bit about the violence. In this golden age, the cartoon won 7 Oscars and 6 other nominations. So far, the best one to watch is the films from 1940 to 1955. Minor grammar mistake at the end there. Films. Okay. Ones. Okay, so the main point that I wanted to make here was about this, the its and his, right? It should have been there because you're talking about Tom and Jerry, and how these bits, you could consider moving sentences around where these arrows are. Okay. Right, I hope that helped. as I say, it's quite confusing to talk about this stuff, but readers really do notice it if it's not right.